Well, hey there. Welcome on into VGMporium, video game music and more. I'm the proprietor of this fine establishment, Rage Cage, and today we have special orders coming in. So if this is your first time listening, what it is you send in a request to me, either via email to my VGMporium@gmail.com, or if you're following me on Twitter or Instagram, you can shoot me a DM there, or wherever, however you want to do it. And once I get enough, I'll bulk order them in, and I'll play them in a single episode. Some other VGM podcasts do it by, kind of doing it as like a special Patreon event. Others do it as like, playing one or two in one of their standard episodes. But for me, it kind of saves on shipping costs to order everything at once, because ordering things kind of piecemeal is not very cost effective for the overhead. So now the first order I have in is from my good buddy Wade, who I actually had in the shop last week, sharing his love for the inexplicably cute sound. And if you want to hear a couple guys being ridiculous beyond ridiculous, I would definitely recommend you go check it out. But let's see, what he's ordered here is 1 Minute of Love, an unused track from the game Border Down, composed by Yasuhisa Watanabe. And this is most definitely a Wade track. Just those nice pads, the kind of rising pads, the piano stabs in there, the nice just weird funky bass going on in the background, and then those oddly placed synchronized percussion. If he hadn't wanted to talk about that cute sound, the VGM we would have talked about it would have been more like this. So now, Border Down. This is a vertical shoot 'em up, a 2.5D style, so it's 3D models on a 2D plane. Released in the arcades in 2003, and then released next month on the Dreamcast as well in 2003, only in Japan. And it was made by the company G-Rev, who had helped in making Ikaruga and Gradius 5 before this. And how this game works is it has a border system, and whereas you start in the easiest border, so green, and then as you subsequently take damage, you go down borders. So starts off green, which is easy, down to yellow, which is medium hard and has different enemies and enemy patterns, and then down to red, which is the hardest. So now Yasuhisa Watanabe, he was primarily a Taito composer, and he was actually a member of the Zuntata, which was Taito's in-house band. So now, going down his list here, he was a sound editor on Ninja Warriors, did the music for Civilian, Crime City, sound editor on Darius 2, music for Violence Fight, World Grand Prix, Gun Frontier, Super Space Invaders 91, Metal Black, Hat Trick Hero 93, Super Chase Criminal Termination, Kaiser Knuckle, Fighters Impact, Pucci Karat, Arkanoid Returns, Custom Robo on the N64, Street Fighter EX2, Techno Tricks, Gundam Battle Online for the Dreamcast, Salem's Witches, Witch de Go-Go, and then the last title I could find is Senko no Ronde in 2005. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little ditty, Wade. I look forward to having you on the show again at some point. And here's someone I'd like to have on this show at some point. We have an order from Mike Levy of XVGM Radio, and dude, you haven't played that game. And he kind of just left his order a little open. He asked just for something from Dragon Dance on the Game Boy, so what I got you is BGM number 4, which is the in-game music from Dragon Dance, composed by Iku Mizutani. was VGM4, main in-game music, from Dragon Dance, composed by Iku Mizutani and ordered in by Mike Levy, who is a host alongside Justin Snyder of XVGM Radio, which is, I'm not sure how to put this, like my third or my 2.5-ish VGM podcast I started listening to, because before Mike had been hosting Pixel Tunes Radio alongside Ed Wilson, who now hosts VG Embassy, which was actually my second VGM podcast, right along after Pixelated Audio. So, XVGM and VG Embassy are both kind of like my 2.5-ish, third-ish VGM podcasts I've listened to. It's I don't know, it's very confusing in my head. But he is also the creator of the YouTube video series, Dude, You Haven't Played That Game? Wherein he'll actually talk about the game, maybe do like some skits around it, like dress up, sometimes really get into it. I'm looking at you, Princess Mike Daisy. And his order comes at no surprise to me because, if you've listened to XVGM Radio or Pixel Tunes Radio before that, this boy is a big old Iku Mizutani fan. And I don't blame him. I mean, listen to this music. His Natsume work is amazing. So now, Dragon Dance. Basically, it's Breakout. If you'd like to know more Breakout, there's actually Retronauts podcast did a fantastic episode about that, entire history of Breakout just a few weeks ago. But it's a little different because the dragon, which you bounce, you hit the ball, it goes up and breaks the tiles and stuff, but you move the dragon around, and instead of just being limited to, going back and forth, you can move it around, up and down, back and forth, in, just a little rectangular area, but he curls up into a ball when you turn or, go the other direction, so it can become just a small thing to hit, and you can get, little tricky shots and stuff, and it's actually really cool looking on the Game Boy. And there are points in the game, I don't know if it's just the one, in a final boss, or if there's, either, smaller bosses, but yeah, you face off boss characters, and you just the same thing, you just gotta bounce the ball off the walls and, hit them, but they're moving around the screen too, so it makes it a little tricky. So now, Iku Mizutani. Where to start with the guy? Well, he actually got to start with Konami doing games like Rock'n' Rage, Ferocious, Nemesis 2, Russian Attack, Green Beret, Metal Gear, and Snatcher, majority of these on the MSX. He then made the jump to Natsume in '89, doing first game being Dungeon Magic, Sword of the Element, and then would go on to do Shadow of the Ninja, Spanky's Quest, Chaos World, Shatterhand, Sagaya, Special Criminal Investigation, Don Doko Don 2, Tokon Club, The Jetsons, Cogswell's Capers, Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling, Natsume Championship Wrestling, Pokken Rocky 2 on the SNES, Tetris Plus, Cleopatra Fortune, Casper, Hole-in-One Golf, Power Rangers, Lightspeed Rescue, Croc 2, Action Man Search for Base X, Ultimate Surfing, WWE Road to WrestleMania X8, Metabots, Meta B, Metabots Infantry, Mobile Suit Gundam Seed Battle Assault, The King of Fighters 13, Final Fantasy IV Complete Collection, and then the latest game I see is Mega Man Legacy Collection 2 on the PC in 2017. And many of these games are actually kind of in collaboration with other composers. So now the coolest fact I see about this guy is that for the NES and the Sega Master System, he actually created the sound drivers that Natsume used to make their music, and it was all programmed in binary and hexadecimal. And then for all his SNES music, he would actually create MIDI files, and then he would load it into a debugger, convert the MIDI to text, and then he would modify the music in the debugger, and then, would assign the samples and stuff he would use, which he would source from the S330, D550, SC55 MK2, and the Yamaha TX802. But I'm pretty damn sure that you know most of this already, Mike. Hell, you probably even know much more than I do. So, look forward to seeing more orders coming in from you, and eventually having both you and Justin on the show together and individually. I can't imagine anything but fun times. So now the next special order we got in is from Rob Nichols of Rhythm and Pixels Video Game Music Podcast, and he also left his special order open. He just asked for something like, Tim Fallon with a side of Rob Hubbard. I went with the Rob Hubbard bit, and I got you a big ol' meaty jam of a C64 tune. So this is Ace 2 title music by Rob Hubbard. fatty 5-minute jam you just heard was title music from Ace 2, composed by Rob Hubbard for the Commodore 64. Special ordered in by Rob Nichols of Rhythm and Pixels, a video game music podcast that he hosts alongside the one and only Purnell. And this pair of delightful goons delivered the 1-2 punch that actually tipped me over the edge of starting my own video game music podcast. So now let me tell you a little bit about what Rob has special ordered in here. So, the game Ace 2 is a sequel to the game ACE, which is an acronym for Air Combat Emulator on the Commodore 64. And compared to its predecessor, the controls, I guess, are a little more simplified and more focused on two-player versus mode. And let's see what the critics say. So Game Machine says, an excellent two-player head-to-head combat game. Very fast, very playable, and very often not very tense. Zap64 said, fun but oversimplified. Good game in its own right, though it could disappoint those fans of the original. And Computer and Video Games said, the fiddly controls are kept to a bare minimum. So it sounds to be like average to good game. But what isn't average is the music, which is absolutely great. Awesome even. And that is due in part to Rob Hubbard, who could be considered the basically the Koji Kondo of the Commodore 64. His time doing VGM was pretty short, though, comparatively. Like, he went from 85 to 93, working on mostly the Commodore 64, but also, some SNES, Genesis, a little bit of the NES, only, a couple games on that, as well as Amiga, DOS, and the Atari ST. So I'm going to go down the list here. It's, it's pretty big for the short amount of time that he was, but he was a pretty busy boy. So let's see. We got Action Blazer, or Action Biker, Confusion, Battle of Britain, Chimera, Commando, Crazy Comets, Monty on the Run, which is actually the game that really, got people's attention on him, Formula 1 Simulator, International Karate, Las Vegas Video Poker, Phantoms of the Asteroid, Spellbound, Zoids, Light Force, Ninja, Warhawk, Delta, Nemesis the Warlock, Thanatos, Starpaws, Ace 2, which is this game, Mega Apocalypse, Thundercats, Invade a Load, Gold Runner, Chain Reaction, BMX, Stormbringer, Nighttime, Skater Die and Skater Die 2, Bard's Tale 3, Thieves of Fate, Skier Die, Secret of the Silver Blades, The Immortal, John Madden Football, PGA Tour Golf, The Immortal, which was done in 1993, which was his last game until the year 2000, where he did audio technical director on 007, The World Is Not Enough, on the N64. And trust you me, there's so many, many, many other games in between all those ones I mentioned. I was just jumping down the list between, from 5 games each and stuff, and it's way too many games to name off. And hopefully that scratched your Hubbard itch there, Rob. And I'd like to make mention that I was actually on their show back in February, shortly after I had started my show, back on World 31-7, Wacky Tunes. And that was a ridiculously fun time, and it makes me look all the more forward to when I can finally have both of you on my show, both together and separately. So now, I forgot to mention that both Mike and Rob, this is their first time putting in special orders, and I have a third one who's their first time now, and this is from Bedroth, host of Very Good Music, co-host of BG Mania, as well as the Movie Bar podcasts. And he just put on a special order ticket, Surprise Me. So, what I have for him is a little something from a game called Elemental Gimmick Gear. This is Shop, composed by Hiroyoshi Rokuda and arranged by Ichiro Shimakura. that was Shop from Elemental Gimmick Gear, composed by Haruyoshi Rokuda and arranged by Ichiro Shimakura. And that was a surprise order for Bedroth, who is the host of Very Good Music, co-host of BG Mania and The Movie Bar, and is, most importantly, one of the guys that actually kind of helped organize and partly spearhead the whole Masters of VGM event that happened back in June. He just kind of wrangled us all in and just like, all right, we're going to do this. I'm going to organize this alongside Steam 3D, and we're going to make a site. We're going to do a whole hashtag, and everybody just release when they can. And we did it, and it was amazing. But I digress. A bit more on his special order is, he just put surprise him. Surprise me. So I did that. So like in my search for shop music for last week's episode, I came across this tune, and it was a little bit too much for what I was looking for, but I was like, ooh, Bedroth might like this. So here it is for you, buddy. So now you may be asking, what is Elemental Gimmick Gear? Well, it is an action RPG that was on the Dreamcast, and the story centers around a character known as the Sleeper, who by default is named Leon, who was found inside this thing called an egg, which he had been asleep in for about 5,000 years. And egg stands for Elemental Gimmick Gear. And you explore your environments inside the egg, and you get elemental powers from bosses you defeat in. So, and how that works is like inside the main game is all just hand-drawn graphics, like hand-drawn watercolor, and it's really cool and beautiful looking. And then when you go into boss battles, it's all like 3D environments. And I partly know about this stuff because I actually played this game on my Dreamcast via a burnt disc, because I had one of the Dreamcast models that could play burnt discs. And it was a pretty interesting game. I didn't really get too far into it because I then got distracted by Project Justice, the sequel to Rival Schools, which was one of my favorite PS1 games, and a series I'd like to see come back at some point, or some fashion. I know we got Akira in Street Fighter V, but that's not enough. We need Rival Schools back. I need to calm down and tell you a bit about these composers. So starting off with Haruyoshi Rokuda. He has a pretty short VGM career starting in 1988, doing music for Kaiju Monogatari, To the Earth, Juve Quest, Peki and Poco's Diamond Busters, Dream Master, Daikaiju Monogatari, Daikaiju Monogatari 2, and then finally with Egg Elemental Gimmick Gear. And this is probably one of those cases of getting a popular musician to come in and work on some video game music, because he is actually a bass, piano, and keyboard player for the band Anzan Chitai. So whereas Rokuda composed the music, it was arranged by Ichiro Shimakura, who was actually one of the sound team of Hudson Soft. So going down his list, he got started with Ginga Oju-sama Densetsu Yuna 2, Ein no Princess. And then going down, we got Saturn Bomberman, Bomberman 64, Star Soldiers, Vanishing Earth, Pokemon trading card game, which is really, really good, Mario Party 3, Mario Kart GB 2, Oriental Blue, Mario Party 5, Mario Party Advance, Dance Dance Revolution Mario Mix, Suikoden 5 as the music director, Bomberman Land Touch, Mario Party 8, Tetris Party, and then finally Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics as chief sound director. And so there you go, surprise for you, Bedroth. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'm looking forward to further orders from you, as well as eventually having you on my show as well. And so now this brings us to our last special order, and this is coming from third-time special orderer, Martyrus, host of ReVGM. And his special order, of course, is a cover, and it is Title Theme from Chronos, originally composed by Tim Fallon, and this is the NES 2A03 cover done by Vinyl Cheese. was the title theme from Chronos, originally composed by Tim Fallon, and this is the NES 2A03 cover done by Vinyl Cheese, special ordered by Martyrus of VGM, and it is a podcast focused on remixes and rearrangements of video game music. And I do believe it's been mentioned by both of us before, but we're essentially podcast brothers because we started around the same time, and we were both got our final inspiration from Rhythm and Pixels. So there is a little bit of a story behind this special order. Back when he was doing research for his episode, a VGM Night at the Proms, which was focused on the BBC proms, he was featuring music that was played at the proms, and one of them being Chronos, the title screen music. And he asked me the question, what was the difference between the beeper version and the AY version? The beeper just being that it was purely the ZX Spectrum's standard sound chip thing, and then the AY being which was the AY chip added to the ZX Spectrum, so it had a little bit more of a beefier percussion. And shortly after that, he sent me this track, probably in his search for remixes of that title theme. So now a little bit about the game Chronos. It's a shooter, a shoot-'em-up on the ZX Spectrum, a space shoot-'em-up. And that's about all you got. The plot is the 7 ruling lords create their own races, with Woden creating man and Chronos creating the mystical dimension weavers, if that helps at all. And the music, of course, was composed by Tim Fallon. And Rob, this is why I went with Rob Hubbard for you, because Martyrus had already ordered Tim Fallon here. So in a way, you could say you had both your orders fulfilled, a double special order for you in a way. So now back to Tim Fallon. Do I really need to tell you what this guy has done, what he's created, the musics that he's made? So, hey, I'll do a little bit for you here. So we got, of course, Chronos, and then we got Sly Spy, Ghouls and Ghosts, Silver Surfer, Pictionary, Solstice, Spider-Man and the X-Men, Arcade's Revenge, the unreleased Time Tracks game, Echo, Defender of Time, Starsky and Hutch, and of course, most recently, Contradiction, Spot the Liar, and At Dead of Night. But most likely, if your curiosity is more geared towards Vinyl Cheese here. What their primary thing is taking video game music and rearranging it in other chiptune styles. So, in the case of Chronos, he took it from the ZX Spectrum to the NES, doing it very well in the style of Tim Fallon's NES work, hearing little bits of Solitaire or Solstice, Pictionary, Silver Surfer, Treasure Master, and Magic Johnson's Fast Break in there. Just hearing all those little parts in there. Most recently on their SoundCloud, I see they did an entire NES remake of the entire Cave Story soundtrack, and they're really, really good with what they do. They do multiple sound chips, so NES, Sega Mega Drive, Commodore 64, arcade, you name it. If it's on Deflamask, it probably most likely is he's graduated to Furnace Tracker with all its availabilities. I think it's up to maybe 50 or 70 plus sound chips on it. And then, just all the different configurations you can do with that. But yeah, back to Vinyl Cheese. He has a YouTube channel, which he actually updates regularly. SoundCloud, he probably doesn't use it as much, it looks like. But I would highly recommend you go check him out. So Martyrus, thank you for your special order. And, like with everybody else, so hopefully eventually I can have you on my show here, and vice versa. And a big thank you to everybody else who made a special order for this episode today. So that would be Wade, Mike Levy, Rob Nichols, Bedroth, and Martyrus. And again, I'm going to say, if anybody wants to put a special order in, just send an email to VGMporium@gmail.com, or if you follow me on Twitter, shoot me a DM or drop me a tweet or whatever, and on Instagram, same thing. Everywhere, wherever you find me, just drop me a message, say, I want this, special order me this, and I'll get it, and I'll wait until I have enough, and then I'll bring it in for a special episode for you. So I'd like to thank you all again for coming into VGMporium, video game music, and more. You can find me on all those social medias, such as Twitter and Instagram, as well as on the podcatchers of your choice, Apple, Google, Spotify, Audible. Even on YouTube, I'm posting up the videos. They're just like the title cards and the sound. And then you can find me, the proprietor of this fine establishment, Rage Cage, at those said social medias, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook even, and you can find all my original musics on SoundCloud. It's all chiptune stuff. And so now for next episode, it's getting pretty close to Halloween. It's so, obviously it's going to be a Halloween special, but I'm going to be having a couple of my curators that actually kind of work in the lower regions of the VGMporium. Yes, VGMporium does have a basement, and they're going to be bringing us some spooky, scary Halloween type tunes for you. I don't know what they got planned out. They're a little on the strange, a couple of goons, but hey, They're nice guys, and I'm pretty sure whatever they got planned is going to be a good, fun time.